right now. Because frankly, if you heard my intro yesterday, you'll know that it's better to tune out. That was a joke. So I wanted to call your attention to our new publication. We launched this last week called RTM Daily. It's not actually a print publication, but there's a print flyer, a form of it, I think on your tables, and take a look at it. This is the brainchild of our editor-in-chief, Joe Mandese. It's all about real-time media and marketing. And we introduced the OMA RTB show last May, and to great success, actually. And we've repeated it twice. This is the third edition. And, it's the highest number of attendees. They're not here yet, all of them, that we've ever had register for one of our single-day shows. So obviously something's happening in the real-time media and marketing industry, and as always, we're simply trying to observe what's going on and do the best we can to report on it. And so Joe had the idea of launching a new daily that's all about real-time media and marketing. So this show, of course, is more narrowly about real-time buying, and that was its genesis. But of course, it sets the example, the real-time buying world sets the example for what's possible in all of marketing. The scientific deployment of marketing budgets with real-time feedback to optimize and make them more as successful as possible. It's kind of like a dream that seems now to be coming together. So, and that was what our show yesterday was about, the integration of all aspects of real-time information back into marketing plans. Today, we're going to talk about actually making the buys and making them better. And so thanks for being here. Thanks to our sponsors for supporting our efforts. They're up on the wall, but I'm going to read them. AlphaBird, Integrate, and Videology. You heard from Integrate this morning, and you're going to hear some presentations over lunch by AlphaBird and Videology. And so we also have supporting sponsors, TubeMogul, Aerospike, iDemand, AdParlor by Ad Marketplace, and Advertising.com, and Index Platform. So thanks to all for helping us to put this show on today. So thank you for, my job is to quiet the audience, and usually as I drone on, they get very quiet. And, but then I'm going to turn it over to our MCs for the day. It's going to be a tandem of two of the smartest guys we know, and I don't think we're biased, in the world of media and digital. We're calling Steve Smith our all things digital guru, and I think we are going to try to coin that phrase if we can. All things digital has a nice ring to it, and then we have also our man who knows everything about media, our all things media guru, Joe Mandese, our editor-in-chief. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Does that mean we get initials now too? I'm ATD and Joe is ATM. Joe is ATM. Welcome everyone to our third OMA RTB show. Our sponsor actually stole some of my initial setup for this, because some of the stats that we've seen recently, eMarketer sort of collated, and as they often do, averaged out a lot of the projections around RTB, where it's been and where it's going in terms of both the share of the marketplace, its velocity, which is incredible. Not only here, by the way. I know we tend to focus on the US market, but we've also recently been doing shows in the UK, and the RTB market there is really starting to heat up fast. There's a tremendous amount of interest in the European market in RTB, and a number of the companies who we'll be talking about and talking with today are extending into the European market, especially in the UK, where the RTB market is really growing. But here, as we've seen from eMarketer and their averaging out of the various projections, we saw 13% of all display in 2012 probably going through RTB systems of some kind or another. Their projection is that we'll see another 98% growth rate in 2013, up to about 19% of inventory, and at least 1.9 billion was spent last year, and we're going to see that grow again substantially this year. And yet, one of the things that we're trying to engage in this show is some of the key issues that are still there, that will always be there, not only about making this better, but also some of the persistent conflicts and challenges that remain for this industry. Whether brands really are ready. One of the things we'll be focusing on earlier this morning is whether brands really are ready for this. That has been the promise all along, is that these were systems that really would attract brand advertising. In the 15, 18 years I've been covering digital, that's been the promise of digital advertising all along, and still remains an open question how much brands really are willing to invest and move a lot of money here. The torrent of inventory that we've seen lately, especially from Facebook, and also the readiness of publishers to bring more of their inventory online. Again, a persistent promise that premium inventory is coming, will be here, is there, is coming, it's getting better, but is it really? These are some of the things that we want to talk about today, including complexity and cost, which is sort of one of those quiet issues of RTB that often isn't talked about enough, but has a lot to do with the quality of inventory that comes into the system. And then also we'll be talking more broadly about something that, in fact, our new newsletter takes up, is the notion that real-time bidding, real-time buying, programmatic buying, is really just the tip of an iceberg of something else that's happening culturally in advertising and in media buying and selling. And that is automation, programmatic everything, and the ways in which automation is going to infiltrate various aspects of media buying and selling and publishing, and what effect that's going to have. Before I turn things over to my partner in crime, Joe, let me walk you quickly through the agenda so you get a sense of how we structured the show. We tend in the MediaPost shows, of course, to take the buy-side perspective as our core constituency, is media buying and planning, and also work from the top down. So we'll be starting today talking about working from that top down and look at the buy-side perspective and the brand-side perspective on RTB. We'll be looking at whether that long-standing promise of brand dollars really are coming here, and what brands actually are doing here who are here. What particular types of campaigns are really being focused on through the RTB buying systems. And we'll also get an overview of the marketplace from Accordant Media. We'll engage, I think, probably the biggest development in this space over the last 6-9 months, which is the arrival of Facebook inventory. What does it mean? Not only how good is it and whether it's working, but what does it mean to the entire ecosystem of putting that much inventory into the system all at once of a different kind? We'll take a look at some of the highly topical issues around RTB over the last 6 months, especially private exchanges, whether they really are working, whether publishers really are investing inventory time in them, and whether they're really realizing revenues from them. After lunch, we're going to get a real case from one of the most recognizable brands, Major League Baseball, to show how they're actually using RTB to move ticket sales in a highly granular and highly targeted way. It's a fascinating case study that we found. We'll also be looking at that larger issue I mentioned before of how RTB really is just the piece of a much larger cultural shift that's going on within the agencies, within publishing, towards automation of all kinds, real-time responses to everything, and how that changes the way everybody does all of their work. We'll look at one of the what we call moving to RTB 2.0. how some of the central issues are being resolved around quality, about viewable impressions, how the inventory perhaps is being improved, whether the cost structures are going to be simplified and made more palatable to a lot of publishers who remain very reticent about the space. And then we're going to end the day with something that we've been doing for a number of years here in the MediaPost shows, which is called Grill the Vendors, where we take a particular vertical within a vertical that we're focusing on and bring together a group of vendors to talk about their place in the supply chain, how this vertical is evolving, differentiating among the vendors. In this case, we're going to look at video. One of the important pieces of RTB is the way in which it's proliferating across a lot of different platforms. Video probably the most advanced among those new platforms. We're going to bring in a number of video vendors to talk about how RTB is taking shape within their space, but also how they differentiate one another and how they claim to add value to the space. I want to turn it over to my partner, Joe Mandese, who is going to not only do our keynote interview, but also help set up the show. I think you all know Joe. Joe is a longtime journalist in the space, knows more about agency history and the ways in which RTP fits within that larger context of history than anyone I know. Please welcome our editor-in-chief, Joe Mandese.
Well, thank you, Steve. And Steve did a great job of setting the agenda and basically the context for why we're doing this. But I just want to add a couple of quick notes and then introduce Ari Blumen so we can get off to the official content. But I just want to say I get really excited about this part of the business because it's kind of the fruition of everything I thought advertising and media was before I started covering it. When I started working for Adweek as a cub reporter, the magazine that Ken Fadner founded, I started covering television, and I always thought that Madison Avenue worked like Wall Street in the sense that it was like efficient markets of supply and demand. And when I got there and I started covering this thing called The Upfront, I learned how crazy and emotional and private those markets really can be, and how obscure and opaque, really. And it's been frustrating for 30 years covering the media marketplace because oftentimes what we were told in the trade press and how we were spun and how we reported it back to the rest of the market and the beliefs that we shaped really didn't meet the reality when I saw real data down the stream. And it's been frustrating to me because I felt we were playing a role in something that should be more transparent, more open, and more logical. And I don't mean to throw a knock on all traditional media. I'm just saying that from the point of view of a guy who wants to be objective and cover it neutrally, it was really frustrating. So when I started to see that real-time transactions were throwing off real market data about what was really happening, it just made me excited as a journalist. But I really believe it's beneficial to the marketplace, both suppliers and sellers. And I think the biggest issue that we're working through right now in the evolution of this market is that it was driven by technology, and humans didn't quite understand it, and we're playing catch-up right now. And I think some of the things we'll be talking about today, the issues with the supply chain between buyers and sellers, are really still human, emotional, and cultural issues. And that's what I want to focus on. So the panel I'm doing later today is really going to focus on how it impacts the culture and the organizations. And to some extent, that's a good transition to Ari, because one of the reasons I wanted to interview him is he's the new Chief Digital Investment Officer at Group M, the largest buyer of media in the world, bar none. And you know, before that, I'll do a little intro on him. But Ari, if you want to come up and take the stage while I explain why we have you here, it might be a good transition.